Okay, what I already worked on was to get this from ordinal to work. So actually, we have that working, and this also works for the faults because you can get an ordinal from a fault, but this one is only available at compile time. And so the reason why this is like that is the um, the faults aren't really arranged in memory. So each fault has its own memory location. So and there are no pointers to them other than that particular location. So for example, the fault has a very nice name here. I hope I hope you still hear me. By the way, that's I'm not using this. I'm not using a microphone, so you have to bear with the extremely amateurish sound and so on. Okay, so if we make this fault like excuse me or something. Okay, so maybe this will be a little easier for me to talk about. So excuse me in this case, it will not know what this, like just looking at the excuse me fault, it doesn't know where these particular fault types actually reside. They have special link time locations. So if you wanted to do something like this, which would be like, let's say we take this. So this one will work, right? Let me just write that. So this should work if I didn't do anything wrong. So we get all of the. This is at the compile time, and then the list here it's at runtime, and this is at compile time. But we wouldn't be happy if I did something like so xd equals excuse me me from ordinal and just take I here. And so now would protest because could not be. Oh, excuse me. Okay, excuses lip. Right. So excuse me like that. So we get this form ordinal can only be used with a constant ordinal with a constant. Blah. Yeah, the English there. In the case of I do take pull requests on improving the error message names here. So from ordinal can only be used with constant or with constant ordinals. When applied to for faults, you can only use from ordinal with constant values, constant arguments, something like that. Okay, so something like that. Yeah, okay. Uh, I did some other things. So the whole question is whether this it's still possible to, instead of doing that, you could do this. So we could do this, right? So this is the old way of doing that actually. I inserted a deprecation notice for that. So, oh, didn't I? Well, yeah, so it's because I have verbose output. Let me remove that one. It's not going to be helpful anyway. So normal verbosity. So then you get like the top here. It's using cost to convert into integers to enums. It's deprecated in favor of using enum my enum from ordinal I. And the reason I don't use the real like I could have picked like foo from ordinal and try to make it look correct is because actually the examples are clearer. If I had the foo here, I might not remember that was where there was from. It could be something, some weird name. It happened to me when I was testing. So okay, so we have that deprecation, but then we want to test and see like, okay, what does that mean? Turns out though that this is kind of okay. When you want to see like, does this happen anywhere in the standard library? And if in normal cases it actually doesn't, but it has. You have it in some of the tests. But usually this deprecation notice would just be a notice, and the tests they do not care about that. What I did was recently I did, let's see if I have it there. So let's see if we can find the deprecation. Yeah, so deprecated. So what it does is that if it's building for the test output, let's make this an error. This is going to be so this is going to affect the anything like LSP using test output. It should really be changed into a special output for LSP, but I haven't gotten around to doing that. So this is like the casting into enum, which was deprecated, and there was also like the enum2 int, which are deprecated. But if we remove this deprecation, right, we just deprecate the other way around. So let's see what happens if I do that and run all the tests. So see where it crashes. Is it probably not possible to deprecate it, because it turns out you have cases where you do want to index using the enums, right? And so in that case, in the indexing, we have something called cost to index in the compiler, in the semantic analysis. So it will do some, some implicit widening, and you will have, for example, an int, and it will implicitly cast that to an ISZ type. If it's an int, and if it's an unsigned, we'll try to like the biggest unsigned. And that one will also do this. That one is actually, that code is really old, and probably should be investigated a bit. But the code is old, and it will do the conversion, taking enums and turning them into ints. And that would allow you to index. So currently you can index with the enums, and just gets turned into ordinals, like as if the worst was this ordinal to an ordinal kind of conversion. Now let's see here. It's actually like that seemed to be the big use of conversions. So the conversion, um, doing a cost which converts an enum, an integer to an enum, that that's okay to deprecate, but deprecating turning an enum into an int implicitly, that is harder. Let's see. Okay, so we have all these. Let's look at the tests I had to fix sort of to make that. So that's the from ordinal, right? So you see it's a cost before, and now it's here's the ordinal, and those are fine. They can stay like that. That makes sense. And from ordinal here, and actually it's much nicer with from ordinal because the cost doesn't really say. You don't understand that the cost means that it's actually not taking a distinct type and just converting it. Is actually looking at what the ordinal was. So let's continue here, see what my changes were. Wait, what's that? Okay, so it's a seek mode, ordinal. And here's like on the month. Actually, this has a lot of from ordinals. And then there's a conversion, the property that we added, and that found this into error. So that didn't work and wasn't used. So occasionally I'll find some bad stuff. Okay, so here I think this should not be in. So this one should be reverted. And this, I don't know, this is something broke sometime and I didn't notice because that happens so rarely. So okay, we don't do this. We don't deprecate that one yet. But we do have the enum to int, and that one looks like that. So okay, and now I think like the family will. Okay, so that was family. Here's I think the part that I did. So this that adds the from ordinal. So even though it's just this is no naming changes because it was in here with the index and like looking at the subscript. So renamed some things. Let's see here. The cost becomes the ordinal cost becomes a call, not the cost. And okay, so this was an old deprecated thing, and I didn't notice it until I changed this how the deprecation was signaled in test mode. And here we get the ordinal. That makes sense. Here, yeah. I guess you can like retain the old stuff until that one is done because this one is actually testing other things. So from ordinal makes sense, right? So that one will have to stay. And as you know, this one was also. We don't use this one, this style. Of course, it's deprecated now. But I test for it. And this one, I didn't notice that one before. That was also deprecated one. From ordinal, from ordinal, from ordinal. Here's something. The reason I would do this is because in a macro you're allowed to use the nested hash, this kind of thing, and I need to test that works. Okay, and here's also another. Actually, this one is just when you grab the first token, And in this case, you can just use the sorry about that, the braces to initialize it with the first possible token. And that's it. Let's see if all the tests run here. I'm just going to see if anyone's watching. So, okay. So that looks more like, I don't know. I'm just using some new tools here, and I have no idea if anyone is actually um, doing anything. Um, if anyone is watching right now, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I'll put this one on. I was thinking like putting this on YouTube later, right? And or maybe not. It is kind of boring. So this is, but I could discuss this stuff. So actually, it's there is a general problem. Well, let me just first fix something. You can look at the progress for a little while. So when we use this kind of this form, this later form, then people will make a lot of assumptions about the enums, right? So if you create the enum, maybe I'll do a separate stream, but maybe I'll do it separately. And just let me add some release notes for this. So changes. So add enum from ordinal and default from ordinal. Deprecate cost style conversion from integer to enum. And let's copy that one, those two, sorry. Oh, and also make deprecation and error for tests in test mode. Okay, that's it. Let's add those. Make sure the tests have run. These tests, the soundlib tests. Yes, and then I'm going to abuse my powers here to just push this live. Let's first see if we have something. I didn't, just make sure. So, and commit and push. And it's live. Now it's just going to build. So that's it. Thanks for watching this. Later. Bye bye.